I work in the history of political philosophy, specifically on Plato, but I really teach across it. And as a teacher, I'm pretty much a generalist. I like to teach literature and poetry and film and really across the board. But my real passion is in teaching
And
Plato.
you have a job with the University of Austin, which is extraordinarily impressive.
Yes, I'll be teaching there starting in the fall, and I'm looking forward to it. Teaching some courses in their core curriculum. I'll be teaching a course on Plato's Republic, and then I'll be teaching a course on Machiavelli as well.
And you wrote, your last books were about Plato.
Yeah, I've written 3 books. My first was a sort of updated version of my dissertation. It was on Plato's Parmenides, and then a short book that probably is my favorite book I've written on Plato's Symposium called Musings on Plato's Symposium.
Love. I love this symposium on love. Yeah.
Yeah, it's 49 short aphoristic sections interpreting the symposium, and then the other one was called Defending Socrates, and it's on Plato's 3 dialogues on the question of knowledge, Theaetetus, Sophist, and Statesman.
So, a couple of things. What lessons does ancient Greece have for our current predicament?
So the ancients are primarily focused on. Look, I blocked you. You can't.
I know.
Get that.
Shit.
Yeah, I know. Not off to a good start, Peter. You hit me.
No,
but now
I
you're
know.
struggling.
I know.
The ancients were concerned with the question of the good life, but they were absolutely aware that our primary understanding of the good life comes from our opinions about the good, which are largely coming from our political community. To work together, we have to have a shared conception of the good, even when it seems to be fraying. There are certain basic agreements that are holding us together. And so for the ancients, political philosophy had to be the primary line of inquiry, because if you're going to understand what the good life is, you need to question those opinions. And so
Exactly.
The question of the good life immediately comes to the question of what is the regime under which I live? How is it informing my life? How is it educated me? But more importantly, how has it miseducated me? And that's one of the reasons I'm really attracted to the University of Austin, is because it is really trying to work outside the regime, but not in a sort of simply alien way, tech phobic and all of that, but really trying to find a way to create thoughtful citizens aware of the pitfalls of their current predicament. And so for me, ancient political philosophy is really crucial to what we're doing.
So what did the ancient Greeks have? Did you? Oh, shit. What did the ancient Greeks have in terms of a good life, or what did they know that we don't?
I mean, there's a lot there. I think the primary thing that they were aware of, and that we sort of struggle to, that's a risky move.
I know.
And that we sort of struggle to understand. That's 5 and 2. We struggle to understand is that, look, we're living on 500 years into the modern project. If you start with Machiavelli, we can debate that, but we're living 500 years into that, and the main aim there was, let's sort of lower the goals and try to create a society that's really effective. And so, with modern economics, with modern politics, the aim is always to try to make people feel sort of comfortable and safe, right? Maybe make them wealthy even. And so the problem with that, and this has had, I think, certain historical ramifications, especially in the 20th century, but the problem with that is that that's not all that human beings want. Human beings want a meaningful life. They want something above and beyond that. They want their lives to matter in some larger context, maybe religious, maybe some kind of cosmic purpose, whatever it might be, and who's to say whether that purpose actually can be fulfilled. But the ancients were far more attuned to that, to the fact that human beings want something like that, and they need to educate those passions rather than merely to sideline. So when you look today at what's going on with especially a lot of young men, where they don't feel like society is giving them a place, where they feel like they're not allowed to be men, I think they could learn a lot from reading Plato and Aristotle, who take their passions far more seriously, certainly than their government does, but maybe more than a lot of modern thinkers do, certainly than a lot of sort of economically focused thinkers.
Is there a pedagogical method that you think is, I'm trying to make this non-leading question because I believe the Socratic method, but is there a pedagogical method that you think is more effective with teaching certain people that intersects with the good life and education and the role of the state? Like, is there? Okay, not all pedagogies are the same, right? In
Sure.
terms of their outcomes. So that means some pedagogies are better than others.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
So-
I mean, it depends what kind of student you're dealing with. I just had an incredible interaction with a former student.
You escaped, yeah.
Yeah, I'm out.
Yeah, go ahead.
Former student, he would come to class occasionally, always stoned. He would say thoughtful things when he was there, but he wasn't there enough, and it was kind of
You don't know
disappointing.
if it's because he was stoned, but yeah.
No, he was reflecting on it. He tried, but he was obviously distracted by his extracurriculars,
Yeah.
And he, that student came up to me. He had gotten clean, wasn't smoking weed anymore. He was looking for a purpose. He's, I think, going to be fishing off the coast of Alaska on a big rig, salmon fishing. And so he's going out, he's seeking out challenges. That student I reached through more sort of rhetorical, sort of talking about the limits of democracy, how it makes you listless and aimless. Other students who aren't like that are reached more by a kind of Socratic method. Like, you can kind of work on their opinions, but it depends where the student's at. But there's certainly for different students in different circumstances, you're going to have to take a different tactic.
So I've often wondered, do you use the Socratic method or a version of the Socratic method in your classes?
Yes. Yeah.
Do you think it's more effective with men than women?
Yeah, this is maybe a cop-out, but I've been teaching engineers for the last few years, so it's not a lot of women in that. And the women who are interested in engineering tend to be more masculine in many ways.
Yeah.
So that said, I taught at a predominantly female school many years ago. This is now a decade ago at Sarah Lawrence College, and there were some pretty spirited young women in there, and who were eager for a debate. It's very hard from my limited experience to really come down on that. Obviously, there's a deep connection between a kind of masculine competitiveness and Socratic dialogue, and that's obviously something Socrates exploited.
He was a wrestler.
Yeah. Plato, yeah, he was.
Yeah.
Ooh, 1 and 3, that's not. I guess I can do 3.
I'm trying to block you in here. So you 4 and 2. Are you hopeful when you look at the educational landscape today? Are you hopeful when you look at legacy academic institutions, whether it's specifics like not firing plagiarists? I don't want to skew the question, but so I'll say something positive about educational institutions. Oh, geez, I can't seem to think of any. But are you are you hopeful about legacy? Well, here's one. So they're starting to not require DEI statements at some institutions. I think that's just bluster, but that's just show. But
Absolutely.
yeah.
I mean, I've been on search committees, and it strikes me that there's not so secret sort of racial biasing, and I'm sensitive to the need to bring in. But look, we were having teaching positions in my former position, and we would get pushback saying, "Why don't you hire a black woman?" It's like, well, when you look at Yale's English department is majority minority.
Yeah.
Like, that tells you something about our chances, right? They're not going to take.
It tells you that the best people go for those, and so anyone else in a distribution, I guess.
And this is the problem is if you really are serious about DEI, if you're really serious about education. I went to grad school in New Orleans. I used to drive out to this Vietnamese neighborhood in New Orleans East because they had fantastic food. It's out by the marshes. You can take a walk, and you had to drive through the most destitute neighborhood. I tried to find a bus schedule to go out there because there was a bus. I think it ran every 90 minutes or something like that. So what do you do if you're a young black kid growing up in this neighborhood? How do you get to a job? You can't. I mean, you can. It's going to take you hours to get there. Maybe you ride a bike if you're lucky enough to be able to afford one. I mean, so we talk about underrepresentation in the academy, and there's all this hand wringing about hiring, about statements, et cetera. When obviously the problem starts with a lack of resources, lack of education, a lack of all the things that would bring somebody from these low income neighborhoods, these destitute neighborhoods. And then they turn to you and they say, well, you're racist because you haven't hired somebody like this. It's like, no. Academia is going well overboard in trying to get their numbers up. Like they're underrepresented and they're overhired, right? These DEI hires. If you really want to improve things, go down to the neighborhoods. But they don't want to do that because it's all this virtue signaling. It's all this sort of.
They don't want to do any of it.
They want to do the
So
easiest
it's
stuff,
total
not the
nonsense.
hard work.